Figma design portfolios aren't easy, especially when you're creating your own. But today we've got a special guest to help me create the design that we're going to create right here. And we're going to go through the whole process of how we came up with it. Now, this is part of a series, so if you haven't already, you can check out the very first one in the description. And it's going to be ongoing as we build out the whole design. My name's Adrian, and I do videos around design and development. So if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe, and we're just going to jump straight into it. Hi guys, today I've got Kathamar here with me, and I hope I pronounced that properly because I've never double checked with you how to properly say that. But yeah, we're going to be doing my design portfolio here, and he's going to be giving me some reviews and tips while we're doing this. If you haven't checked out his channel, I'll link it in the description below, but did you want to do a quick introduction to yourself there?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, hello, and thank you, Adrian, for inviting me. As said, my name is Kathamar. The pronunciation, I guess there are thousands of ways to say this, so you did really well. I have a YouTube channel called Developer Habits, where I talk mostly about developers' life and the soft side of it, so the mindset and experiences. And sometimes I also do live streams regarding technical topics. And today, we're going to talk about, or I'm going to live review what Adrian is doing, because I've got some design experience, so I hope I can be helpful.
That's great. So this is actually part 2 of this video. I did a part 1 where we put this together on Figma. And this is going to be for my own portfolio. But with this design here, you'll see Kathamar's cursor here flying around, probably giving me suggestions. Do you have edit capabilities there? You might want to double check to see if you can move things around. If not, I should be able to allow you to do that. Let's double check here on our settings. So share, Kathamar, only view will change here to edit. So I've just updated that. You might need to refresh your browser before that takes effect. But as I mentioned earlier, this is part 2, so I'll link part 1 in the video description. And what I'm thinking for this portfolio is a place where I can put my blogs, I can put my videos, and I can even post up some of maybe my courses in the future. So it's an all use case purpose here. But I wasn't really happy with the with this design. I had spent a good half an hour on this one, but it feels very basic, very standard, feels very YouTube-y. So I was going to see today if we can fix this up, make it a little bit more interesting. And I just finished watching the Apple WCC or WWC conference, and I noticed that they use a lot of border radius and curves there and shapes. So I was thinking of using those to make this a little bit more interesting. So what I might do is I might jump straight into it, and we can see what we can do. So what I'm thinking here is I'll start off probably with a new rectangle or something like that. I'm probably gonna put it here as an overlay, and the rest of the content I'm gonna put inside there. But what I'm gonna do is probably add like a huge border, like something like 50 pixels or 100 pixels, and maybe even angle it a little bit so it's off center. And I wanted to mask everything in there. So let's actually group this entire header object right now, because I think that's all over the place. I'm gonna rename this as header here in our design. We'll put this at the top. And this whole section near the bottom is sort of like the footer minus this newsletter part. So let's move this newsletter part down here below. I'll name this newsletter. And I suppose what's left is this section over here, right? So what I'm thinking is if I can make this whole section masked. So I think this is our rectangle here, but this is our section. Let's move this rectangle up one. And I'm gonna see if I can mask it just like this. I think, where is the mask? Use mask here. So I don't think I've done that properly. I think I have to move this rectangle to the bottom of the stack, and I'm going to hit mask as well. So now it's got a bit more of a curve, which I guess is a little bit more interesting. We can play around with with the angle for that, but hopefully that just makes it a little bit more interesting. The other thing we could possibly, yeah, go on.
How much, when you are designing, how much do you think about how you're going to implement it in the codes?
None at all. I just expect that when it comes to the point where it's time to code it, I just figure it out, which is always fun. Yeah. Like with this section here, like the very first idea I had was obviously for this mask, but I think like even with this mask, I might even not use a mask in the future. What I might end up using is like a custom shape in general, because right now, like I can't do that much with it. So I might already remove that mask and we might try something completely different. Like let's see if we can do a custom shape here. So I'm just going to undo pretty much all that hard work. And in here, maybe let's try to use the shape here. And I've noticed that sometimes people make these nice circular sort of objects. I have no idea how they make them so interesting. Let's try it. That looks okay-ish. And if I can turn that into like an actual shape that I can probably utilize, then here, that's looking a little bit better. Let's expand that out like this. There we go. Ooh, that didn't quite do it. There. So I don't know if that'll look any good, but let's put that in here. Does it have a background? I don't think it does. It does now. And then now this section, let's do another mask. So now we have this mask here based on this shape that we have. So at least it's a little bit more interesting, it's a little bit more dynamic, but it's really trying to find the right shapes to be able to do this. So in this case, I feel like this shape here could just be my image, for example. We could move this down a little bit. I think we already have a mask here on top. So what I'm going to do is I might get rid of that mask so we only have this one here. So here's our image and I'm going to expand that out a little bit here. So that way maybe we'll move this up a little bit. I sort of want this to be under my name, but at the same time I want this shape to be a little bit dynamic. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud while I'm designing in here. So sort of maybe like that. Maybe not even like that. So let's actually grab this. We'll delete it. I might delete this whole section here.
Delete everything.
Yeah, delete everything really. Actually, I did like the blue. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to quickly mention here is that at the moment you have some kind, you know, the elements that you want to have in the header, yes. But at the moment you're just playing around with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I know I want a title section here. I know I want a picture here, and I know I want a call to action, which will be the newsletter. Now, the standard way, like most people do, is just to have this one large section like we had before. But it's really basic. I want it to look a little bit better. And if we jump here to WWC Conference Apple, I'm not sure if you can see this on my screen, but I'm just Googling this quickly.
I will check it.
I'll copy some of the visualizations here into the Figma board. So there they are. And it's sort of getting those nice sort of shapes and curves and stuff in there that is sort of trending right now. And building upon that. Now, maybe if I try a circle here, and I might be able to update some of the points here. So let's see if we can do that. So I'm really playing around with this. I haven't actually done custom shapes before. So I'm sort of making this up as I go. And then let's do a mask on these elements. So over here, let's select this entire section as a mask. And then have something like that.
What if you turn the mask the other way around?
You mean
or
like
the
this?
shape? I mean, yeah. Now we could turn it like.
Oops, we can,
flip it horizontally.
yeah, we can rotate it. So let's have a look. I think I have to, let's do a rotate here. So sort of like that, do you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that looks all right, actually. I do like that. Then we can just position it like this. With this section here, we could almost even have the font here just as a regular black or blue or something like that. I'm just going to update these font colors here real quick. And we'll remove the text shadow we were applying before. So let's do that. And this one over here. This one doesn't also make it all the way to the end, so let's clean that up. So that looks a little bit better there. And now maybe, for example, I could change the header to be a blue. Or we could add a couple of other colors in there. But I do like this shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy over this shape once more. Let's do another copy for that. And maybe for the second one of these shapes, let's move it around. Where is it? I can't really see it here. I think that's, do we have a background for it, or is it a mask, or what's happening here? It exists here, but it's almost as if it's invisible. Let's do a stroke, 1 pixel. You can see that shape, right?
Yeah.
Not sure what's happening with that one. Let's copy this one out. This one's masked. Maybe because it's applying a mask as well here. So I want to cut that out and sort of paste it in its own section. Maybe I just create another one. Let's do that instead, actually. So I'm going to create another circle here. And let's see if we can edit this one out. So I'm going to grab the editing tool here. And I'm just going to pull out this one corner. I think that's how I did the last one. Actually, I can't remember how I did the last one. I think I grabbed both corners and just pulled them out. So that's nice. And then I'll exit out of this viewport. We'll rotate this one a little bit. And this one here that we had, we'll move this one back into position like we had here. And this one here I might put in below that mask. Maybe something like that. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Not sure yet. We could change the background maybe to be a little bit darker or something like that. Just to give it some of that like nice aesthetic. Maybe let's expand it out a little bit there. And then this one will be a little bit further in like that. I think that's okay. I don't know. What do you think?
That's the thing. Yeah, I just wanted to say that when I make web designs, for example, I always have the problem when I insert some kind of image and I look my design and it looks okay, but it looks okay because of the picture. But now that you added the border or like another element behind the picture, it makes it so much more, I don't know, full or real.
It stands out hopefully a little bit more. So we could even copy this out a second time, I think. So let's copy out a second one here. And let's do this one as even darker shade and put this behind.
Oh, the gradient, nice. The gradient's nice.
Depends on where we want to put this. Like we could put this somewhere up here. Not really sure. I could even like change up how this shape is. So we could rotate it, for example, make it a little bit smaller, and put it in, I don't know, somewhere, I suppose, like that. It's not much, but it's just a different aesthetic there. And then we can start like using this as the theme for the site, for example. So I could put a little one over here somewhere. Let's make sure I can drag it. And this one could be, for example, a very light shade of that color. So maybe over here, we can rotate it out a little bit. And let's do this one as a darker shade. So hopefully that just works. and then maybe one that is an actual like circle or something like that. So I'm gonna just grab a circle here. Let's get a darker shade. Yeah.
It's really those small details that add so much.
Yeah, I think so. If you can get them right, then you can make the whole aesthetic a little bit more interesting. But I think that's okay to start off with. I guess I could play around with these dots and stuff a little bit later. It's more just to give it a unique feel so that the white space is actually promoting the text rather than the image taking it over. I still feel like this section here could exist a little bit different. Like I feel like it could sort of work with our image. I think maybe even our image there, the mask on it, I don't know. I'm still not fully happy with it. Did you want to have a look what you would recommend here? What are your thoughts?
I'm I would change something. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, it's a hard one,
But
isn't
regarding, yeah, I like the composition. The image is on the left side. It's separate and it's in its own shape.
it?
But I'm not sure about the right sides because the text and the white background feels kind of blank at the moment to me.
Yeah, it probably needs something there. Maybe even like another image, or not yet sure. So we might just move on to the next part for this time being, simply because sometimes ideas pop in as we're developing different stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play around with this newsletter section, because this is gonna be sort of the call to action that I want. And I also want a secondary color. I'm not sure what would be a good color as the secondary color here. I don't know if you have any ideas for that, but let's just make this top header maybe a little bit darker. I might grab that darker version of it. And yeah, so the newsletter. This is the section that is my main call to action here. I really want to promote it because that's sort of how I'm going to be letting people know that I have new courses and stuff like that in the future. But I'm not sure where to put that. Like, I think I'm going to make it bigger in general, just so that it has a bit more weight. I'm thinking of centering it a little bit more so that it's almost the next section people look at. Normally, when I create these things, I still do think about like column design to a certain degree, but of course, column design is sort of thrown out the window these days when you're designing stuff. So with this, I'm not really doing a grid per se. I'm just sort of going based on my feelings alone. My feelings are that this should be somewhere here on the right, maybe. On the left, maybe. Let's align this more on the left here. But I sort of wanted to have a reason for people to do it. So it almost needs like a arrow here where it tells you what you actually get if you sign up to the newsletter, because otherwise you don't really even know, right? Like why?
So it's like a secondary banner or something?
Yeah, exactly. Why are people signing up for the newsletter, right? So I'm gonna let's move this rectangle here below the newsletter, and maybe we'll do a very light shade here. But instead of a shade, maybe we'll reutilize the little circle thingies we're making. I don't know what you would call these things, but what I'm gonna do is
I really like the fact that you had your newsletter block backgrounds behind the header shape, so that the header component was overflowing. Like,
what do you mean by that? Like, I'm not quite getting you.
If I'll just move around the shape that you're moving at the moment. So if you create situations where, like that. So the image is on top of the shape.
And then we can move this one above as well, yeah. So that'd be pretty cool, actually. I like that. And then we could do this as that lighter shade maybe, or something like that. And then in this section here, this could be maybe white. And then we can move this whole element across so it looks like it's a little bit more centered. So let's move this here to the center. And this one here, I feel like could be an arrow or something like that. I'm not too sure yet. Let's put in arrow dash right, and I'll pass this as.
Sorry, I need 10 seconds.
That's fine. Arrow dash right. Let's put FA arrow dash right in here. Looks like that's not applying. Maybe what we could do is rotate this a little bit more. I'm gonna rotate it like this maybe. I don't know, I feel like I want all the elements not to feel too squarey. I just want them to sort of exist as their own shapes. Let's see what else I can do for this circle to push it out a little bit. So I'm gonna grab these 2 points. I'm gonna pull them out a little bit so they sort of exist like that. I think that's... I'm still not quite happy with it.
What if you made it bigger, like much bigger, the background of it?
This one here, just
yeah,
that could work. Maybe something like that. Maybe.
Yeah. In my eyes, it looked better, but no, I like the smaller one more.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like if I copy out another one here and make a darker background version of it, will that stand out anymore? And then, I know this might sound weird, but if I grab all of these elements and rotate them a little.
And when you hover it with your mouse, then it starts moving.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one to figure out. We've got the 2 elements here, so let's see if we can make them a little bit smaller. Now let's make this one a little bit bigger. Move this in here. I don't know, for some reason I'm not happy with any of it, so I'm gonna get rid of all of it. And we might just try with something a little bit more simple. So maybe just a regular square here without any background, but maybe with a border radius. So let's pass in a slight border radius of maybe 2 pixels with, sorry, a border with 2 pixels, and just keep it nice and clean and simple. And for the background here, let's do that as that darker shade. And then maybe we could do 2 of these, something like that, so that it looks like it's sort of popping out a little bit. Could reduce the height of these a little bit. And the width as well.
Will there be any other elements or components next to the newsletter block?
Not really. I think that'd be mainly it. Like we could expand it out a little bit here and move these sections in. So I could, for example, move this button in so it's smaller. Let's do that. Let's move this button to be smaller here in the middle. Move this text input to be smaller. Move them across here. Maybe even move them across here like we used to have. And then make this whole section a bit smaller in general. And then move this all the way across. So. And then you said you liked when it was halfway across the...
Yeah.
Double check that. So I think that was somewhere here, right? Oh no, it was one up, I think. Nope. Let's move it in here. No. Where was that we had it in before? Not
This
too
is
sure.
this is a funny thing about designing, that
Yeah, it
when
is.
you are doing your own designs, then you don't think about layers that much. But when you start collaborating, then
Do you
naming
have a
layers and
different perspective on this now when you're looking at it?
not really, because if I'm doing my own projects, I just move the elements around. But whenever I know someone else is going to jump into the project, I start to like order the layers properly and name them properly and so on.
Yeah, right now all the layers and the layout and everything is a bit of a mess. Like I would normally recommend people have a good schema for that, like good naming conventions, but when I'm doing it myself, like I just do what
Yeah,
I feel like, you
exactly.
know? So yeah, it's a good point there. I suppose it's something to consider when you're doing that
Yeah.
kind of stuff with people. But
With that said, if you're just playing around, then maybe there is no point to name everything properly the first
yeah,
time. But once you get something in place, then
exactly. So then I'm thinking to move these to the white section here. So more to the maybe align that with the actual text itself. So yeah, I think
oops.
that's a little bit better, I guess. Let's see if we can do some background colors for this, or if that looks better as just plain white. I think it looks better just as plain white in general.
I'm gonna try something
Yes, go
quickly.
for it.
I'm gonna that up a bit.
Yep.
And, yep, no. I have like different visuals in my head, but
Yeah.
they don't play out well.
It's a tough one. Like the way I see the visual design for this working, if I can do it, is like you look here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. It's
Yeah, I
sort
can.
of like that. Like this is how normally people view a website. They go from the logo down to the header to this section down. So I'm trying to follow that sort of pattern there. Of course, it's not that easy to do. Like it's easier to think about it, but to design it, and then I want to create some sort of a trend where I can reutilize some of the styling for all the sections. So whether that is these sort of lines that I'm creating with these sorts of colors, I feel like I need another color in general. Because what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to put in some of my videos here, for example, or some of my courses. Maybe have this whole section here as a slider or something like that. Just like that, maybe with my videos, but I'm not too sure yet. Just feel like it needs to flow into the sections really easily. So this one here, let's do a border radius here of 30 pixels. Sorry, 15 pixels. And this could
Just
be...
quickly,
Yes, go on.
just quickly point out that what you said about reusing styles and reusing smaller parts of your design. So if you have some kind of consistency across the design regarding colors, fonts, and also those smaller elements, then it's really good, because it's good for the visitor. They can expect what they can expect what they see, or they get familiar with your design in that sense.
Yeah, no, that would be good if I could do that. It's probably better if I had like a separate artboard where I did the headers and the styling and everything like that to start off with. But yeah, we're a bit late into the game now for that, I feel like.
I'm gonna make a copy of the artboards. I want to
Yeah,
try something with the header.
yeah, I think that should be easy enough to do.
I've never done collaboration, like design collaboration like that. Really
Yeah,
cool.
oh, here's your artwork. Nice, nice. All right, I'm just gonna copy some stuff here. Let's put the newsletter here. We can do new.
So as you can see, for the viewers, we are just playing around. Like,
so this is usually how design is done. I personally feel that's how I do it. It's moving elements around until they feel just right. I never really envision them straight in my head exactly how they should be. I just base it on whether it feels right or not. So that's a tough situation to play around with, I guess. Let's see what you're doing over here. All right.
how do you usually plan out all the elements you want to have on a page, or how do you approach like the beginning?
I don't really. I just base it on what I think the content's going to be. So in this case, like I said, my content is who I am to start off with. Call to action being the newsletter sign up. Then maybe some examples of videos and content I've done. And then finally the blog section, which I wanted to write up on. I was thinking of also pulling in my Twitter feed and possibly like Instagram and other sources, but mainly Twitter to start off with. So that should flesh out most of the content to start off with the website. And then as I progress and do more, I'll sort of customize it, maybe add some courses in there if I ever do them. But that's just keep it simple really to start off with. That's what I'm thinking. So,
yeah, you can always add new stuff.
I really liked your one, to be honest, the way you did yours. But did you have a plan in mind when you did your portfolio site there?
I had something in my mind, but like you, I just jumped into it and saw what I wanted to have on the go.
All right. Oh, that's good. That's yeah. I feel like when you're doing your own design for your own portfolio, it's always so much harder. I don't know what it is. When it's for a client or someone, it feels like the inspiration usually just comes a lot easier. But yeah, I'm not too sure. It's a tough one to start off with. But I think I'm just gonna copy out this video section here a few times. Let's have a look at that. Oops, didn't want to move that.
Doing your own designs, I mean, you want it to be perfect, right?
Exactly.
With clients' work, you know, they know more or less what they want, or at least they have an idea, and it's also easy for you when they have some kind of image of what they want in their heads.
Exactly. When I'm usually doing my own, then I don't really know exactly what I'm after. I feel like I'm now the client, and the client always thinks, I don't know, just make it work for me. That's how I feel now, you know?
Ooh, I really like what you're doing here.
Yeah. This is sort of what I meant by like I want my content to sort of be part of how the design works. So I've already started doing playlists on my videos and stuff like that. But if I can like group these into very nice sections, I think that'd be really cool. I was thinking of even doing different colors depending on what type of videos I do, because sometimes I do design videos, sometimes I do programming videos, and because it's always a little bit different, then yeah, so like I could have a section here for development, for example, and then this section for development I'm thinking is red because functions are always red, and then we could change the aesthetic for this one to have that red color. So let's add a slight red tint to these.
One thing that I noticed is that the font size of your hero area and the font size of the playlist
Yeah,
are both quite big.
this could reduce a little bit, actually. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I like very big
Otherwise,
font
it starts.
sizes. I feel like these days people have larger monitors and they're only getting larger as well. So,
Yeah.
but I do have to cater for all the audience there. So this one, what is it, 64? So we'll pass 64 pixels in here too. Let's move these up a little bit.
Maybe a small tip for the viewers is that there should be, like, as in with HTML, you have the hierarchy of headers like H1, H2, H3, and so on. It also applies to design, that you really have to think where you want your visitors to look at first. So in our case, the header obviously has the biggest font, and then when you scroll down, the H2 will be just a bit smaller.
Yep, exactly. So that's a good point. So I'm wondering how we can also bring some of these aesthetics that we're creating up here further into our page.
I really like those three elements.
I know, somehow the ones at the top right fit in just right, but I'm not sure if I can add them in. Maybe if I could sort of have them poking out or like this element, but I'd have to like cut this section in or something like that. Can I reduce the, let's zoom right in here, and then let's move this in like that. I don't know. Move, oops, what am I doing here? So this one here, I want to cut that out. It seems to have copied over from the other element. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm going to have to remove it because it's not its own element. It's like the same shape as the one on the top right. They've been connected somehow. So I'm just going to copy this out separately. I might make it a little bit smaller. And what we could do here is maybe let's move this in and move this bit in like that. Maybe we pull out the part here on the right a little bit. Copy this out. We'll rotate it maybe a little bit as well. So let's do a rotate on this one here. Whoops. So again, this is sort of where these two have been connected again somehow. So I'm not sure what's going on, why they connect up, but I'm going to have to just create a new shape altogether. We'll paste this in here. Maybe for this one, I'll move it in a little bit. It's like a little circle thingy. I don't know. I feel like it needs some sort of aesthetic there, but I'm not happy with that. And I think I am happy with the idea that the videos will be in there like this, though, in terms of like having these sections for all the videos coming across. And this can be like a slider that sort of moves across as you use it more. I think that's really cool.
Question.
And then maybe we have another one here, and this one will be like my Twitter. But I don't want to reutilize the same sort of dynamic for everything. I want a little bit of a difference. So like, for example, in this section, what we could do is we could move this whole section here to the right. So let's grab all of this and move it maybe just in the center like that. And then over here, we could sort of, do this section. Maybe let's do, let's grab the text here, and I'm gonna just move it up here and grab this bit of text up here and sort of maybe move these ones to the left. So that way we're getting the same sort of content in less room, but applying the same principles really. I'm not sure yet if we can clean this up a little bit. It's sort of that I want to have both the design and the development videos in the same place, but so that I can move on to the next section, which is the blog and the Twitter immediately, rather than sort of using too much vertical space, because I know that as soon as you start scrolling, you start losing people. So you want to have as much valuable content at the top as possible. So I could almost delete my videos because that's redundant. We know there are videos.
I really like the idea of having them next to each other.
Yeah.
That's really clever.
And that way, like the ones at the right and the ones on the left, they both scroll sort of. Let me think. If we can maybe do a slight single pixel line here, and they sort of exist here as scrollable items. So let's make this a little bit smaller. And this should be able to be collapsible pretty simply, but yeah, let's move that hashtag here on the left. And then maybe we'll put this red box here on the far left. So that's where the development section ends, and then maybe this one on the right. We'll move this one up here. Expand it out. I guess
I believe it was better in the center.
You think
because
so?
Then you have development and design together.
Yeah, maybe you're right. You want to combine the two here. Let's make sure these two have the same height. I'm not sure about the lines. I feel like the lines aren't adding the value I want them to. The red and the blue, I mean. Maybe just a single line here, which can be the difference between those two. And that could almost come in from the top, maybe. Let's do a width here of 1 pixel.
What if you change the font size of development and design to be smaller?
Yeah, we could do that too, actually. And, let's try that out. So I'll reduce that here.
Maybe color them.
Oh, actually, yeah, that could be a good idea. So let's grab this one over here, make it smaller. For this one, we can do that blue tint, and this one here we can do that red one. Yeah. I feel like they would probably be supplemented really well if we could have like a logo or something there as well. Right? Because right now I feel like they're almost too bare. I feel like they're missing something there to make them stand out a little bit better. We could almost do the newsletter now centered, I think, because if we do it centered like this, it sort of almost has a reason to be there, because it looks like it'll be flowing into the content, and the content is why you're subscribing to the newsletter. That's sort of what I meant before when I wanted the newsletter to look like it's flowing into a section. Let's actually move it about a little bit here. I'm gonna make the email a little bit bigger, so it's the same here as our button, and I sort of want to center that exactly there. And then I guess let's move this out a little bit, and we could make these two lines that light shade. Maybe that's too light. Let's undo that. Let's make it a little bit darker. There we go. So I think that might be a little bit better. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I like the structure, but I'm thinking if we could add more spacing or free space for the newsletter.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like if we moved everything down a little bit.
Yeah.
It just gives it a little bit more room to breathe there.
Yeah, that's much better.
And then we could move this up just the tiniest bit. There we go.
And again, a really small, simple thing to do to add more space, but I believe it visually looks so much better now.
Yeah, so now it feels like you've got our introduction here. So Adrian Tuareg is at the very top with a picture of me. We've got our development and design. So it's welcome to my channel about this. The call to action is the newsletter. And this newsletter is flowing into these two parts, which is the development videos on the left and the design videos on the right. Visually, I think, I'm pretty happy for us to finish off from here, because obviously, as we progress and consider more things, each section really needs a lot of time to really think about the whole principles of why we designed it a certain way. But this sort of gives you an insight into just how many different designs we play with before we come up with the final one, and how much thought goes into it. What about you? What thoughts do you have so far?
I like it. Like when I think about when you land on that page, then you get the most important information right away. This page is about development and design, probably. You have some kind of newsletter. Oh, and there are also different videos about development and design. So all that vital information is on the top of the page. And now you can just start adding more components that people who are interested can see when they scroll down.
That's great. Like, the only other thing I might have in the future, which is like, I might have something up here called like premium courses. Let's see if I can expand this out a little bit. And the only other aspect to this that I might change is that, again, in the future, I might have a button here where it's sign up to premium content, but I can do that in the future. So it's still got the space there to do that. I can just move things down. So I think, for now, I don't have any premium content, so there's no point to do that. But it just gives me that option in the future to be able to do that as well. So I'm pretty happy with that so far. I'm gonna delete your board over here on the right, if that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, no.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for helping me with this video. I hope that gives you some insight into how I make design.
It was really fun.
And
if you want to do something like that in the future, it'd be really awesome. Like collaborating in Figma, real time, it's really fun. I suggest you guys also try it out.
It's heaps of fun. So check out Kathamar's channel. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.